And the big story for F1 last week was the rain and how incredibly boring the race was. It's like, if you do it like I do, because I don't have time to watch F1 races, so I'm always looking for something. Like, so I'll fast forward like every 10 minutes just to see did something happen. If it does, and I'll watch. And every 10 minutes, I kept fast forward. It's the same 4 drivers in the same 4 positions all the way through the race. So I know that's not why there was controversy, because they don't care about that stuff. But the controversy was the rain. Do you think the rain had to do with that as well, as just not enough give and take or anything? Or what was the main controversy about with the rain? Just that it wasn't safe?
No, I feel like we got robbed of the race, to be honest with you. What could have been an exciting race. It's known to rain. It almost always rains on the weekend at Belgium, and this weekend was absolutely no different. And as they were getting set up on the grid before they rolled off, the rain came through and just started torrential downpour. So they did their formation lap. But before they even completed the formation lap, they called off the start and said, we're going to delay it. We've got standing water. Visibility is too bad, etc., which I agree with. From a state safety standpoint and all that good stuff, a lot of rain was coming down and it was terrible. They delayed it for an hour, if not more, waiting for the rain to clear and trying to get the standing water off the track, which they did. They restarted and they started behind the safety car. The controversy is that the safety car stayed out at least 2 or 3 laps too long. The water was clear. There wasn't a huge amount of spray coming up from the backs of the cars. A lot of the drivers, maybe not all of them, but a lot of the drivers were saying it's good to race. 2 or 3 laps later, in a place like Spa, where you only get 44 total laps, that's 10% of the race just taken away. And by the way, it takes it away in the most exciting and unpredictable conditions. So we could have had passes, we could have had a jumbling of the order, etc. But the FIA basically waited until the track was effectively dry before they started racing. And then after that, you'd think that, okay, the track is still damp, it's drying, maybe you get something out of that. But because so much time was wasted and because the tires are so good right now, they only had 1 stop. So they went off of the wet tires and onto the dry tires. And the first people to go onto the dry tires capitalized on their track position. And they held it until the end. And by the way, they didn't have to change tires all the way until the end. So it became the processional Formula One race that we always talk about. It was just the quintessential missing of an opportunity. I think the stewards just flat out waited too long to let the guys go racing.
Okay. So, yeah, because that is also a little weird anyway. And why don't they start the race like normal? Why do they start with a safety car?
In the rain, it's for safety. So
the way they want to see the cars out there. Well, because I did notice that they were like, I noticed initially they were just like driving like, say, the NASCAR drivers do before start. Then I noticed they started going faster, but the race hadn't started yet.
Right.
So is that like where they're supposed to give them that? They're supposed to give them like a lap or 2 in those conditions? Or how is that supposed to, how is that supposed to, what kind of speed are they supposed to be dealing with in the beginning of a race with a safety car?
In the beginning of a race with a safety car, the safety car speed doesn't necessarily change, but when the safety car is going to pull in and the race is going to start, it's up to the leader to then dictate the start from there. So they typically back way up and let the safety car go away. Okay. Unlike NASCAR, where you have a specified zone where you restart in, Formula One doesn't have that. So the leader will back everybody.
Up to the leader.
Up to the leader to be able to back up people as far as they can and then choose the spot at which they decide to then go on the gas.
And he doesn't tell anybody.
Doesn't tell anybody. So that's why you have to play a quarter of a lap. It wasn't that much, but it felt like a quarter of the lap where they were definitely effectively racing, but the green flag doesn't technically come out until the leader crosses the flag. He was just crosses the finish line with the green flag. He was just Piastri, or Norris at the time, was actually just trying to gain an advantage over those behind him at that point. So
okay. All right. So I guess one of the other things that came out of the race was the fact that Piastri now has gone 41 races without not finishing a race. So he's now getting close to the record. Verstappen has 43 and Hamilton has 48. So what do you think about that?
That's a symptom of Formula One. I like to see. I like the old days where you didn't know until the last lap whether a car was actually going to hang together and actually make it all the way. And now you've got multiple seasons without a single failure for these three drivers. That's just incredible. It speaks volumes about how detuned and within the margins the mechanical engineering of these cars is. If anybody retires, generally speaking, it's a 50-cent part, something small, or it's a crash, something they mess up. So that type of consistency, I think, is great for those drivers. It doesn't make for the most exciting races, though. I remember leaders running out of fuel. I remember engines blowing up laps from the end. I like the unpredictability. It's become too predictable these days.
So where do you think Piastri is as far as the favorite right now?
So he is 16 points ahead of Norris right now. So if they're not equal, they're only going to be separated by a maximum of one. So I would say Piastri probably 350, maybe Norris at 4.
Minus or plus?
Plus.
Wow.
This is for the championship already. Negative odds. Wow. Okay. And Lando positive. That is interesting.
I think this has a lot to do with the fact that Max is out of it now.
Yeah.
So all of his money, all of his points get shoved into these guys.
Going to be one of the two. I think we know that at that point. So the question is just which one. And again, I think that's still too big of a spread between the two. I mean, you're only talking 16 points and you're almost a 3-point difference, maybe even close to a 4-point difference there between the two. That's a little bit too much for me. So I wouldn't be too afraid of going with Norris still at the positives. But Piastri, it does look like it's his title, but we still got a long way to go.
Yeah, and if you want Piastri, it's probably just a good idea at this point because you haven't taken him yet. When you had him at the plus all year and at 3-1 all year, then you might as well just wait and hope that maybe Norris wins a race or two and it gets back even, and then maybe you can get Piastri close to even. Because right now you're getting no value. Okay, so tell me about Hungary and what best bets you have in store for us this week. Best options.
Hungary is a really cool track. It's been around for quite a long time. It was the first Formula One race held behind the Iron Curtain. The track is effectively unchanged since then. They've made a couple of improvements, changed turn one a little bit. There are 2 DRS zones, but it is tight and twisty, and it's usually pretty hot and humid there. Last year. So again, we talked about Mercedes being better in the cool weather. They had some trouble at Spa when it was a little bit cooler and wet, but this week it's going to be likely warmer. So don't look at Russell or Antonelli here this week. You're going to want to definitely be looking at the McLaren duo. Piastri is the one that won last year. They both started on the front row. Piastri led 45 laps. Norris led 18. Norris was the one that was on pole, but Piastri's strategy on tires got the better of him. So again, those two roughly equal right there. Max Verstappen, car tends to like more of the medium speed corners, but Ferrari may be able to get in on the podium again. Their upgrades seem to be working, at least for Leclerc, maybe not so much for Hamilton. So I think Piastri is your favorite top pick for the win. And then if you want to look at somebody with an outside shot, maybe, you know what, I'll go ahead and say Max Verstappen for the outside shot at Hungary, to be honest.
That's 6-1?
Yeah, why not?
Okay. And what about winning car? Is this at minus 4-1? Is that Is that actually a good option or not this week?
Yeah, last week it was what, negative 320, I think. And I said, yeah, I would definitely go for it. I'd probably go for it again at -4 because you got both drivers and still it's very hard to choose between them. I do think Piastri is going to be the favorite. But last year they both led sizable or a good amount of laps and they both started on the front row. So kind of tough to choose between the two. So I would go ahead. It's -4 is right on the cusp of where I might start trying to say choose one of the two drivers though. But
All right.
here you're flipping a coin. But I'd say go ahead and still with the -4 this week.
And so forget about any of the deep long shots. If you're going to take one, just go with Max.
Yep, I think Max would be my long shot this week at 6.
Okay. And what's coming up for F1?
A 3-week break.
Oh,
yeah, we hit.
No wonder why they don't end until December.
Yep, exactly right. So we'll get the summer break after this. Hungary is the last one before we end up taking the summer break. They actually have to shut down the factories. Not allowed.
The summer break.
Not allowed to do anything. But we'll come back at the end of August for Holland in the Netherlands. Max.
Okay. So 3 weeks before our next F1 discussion. In the meantime, it's just like we were talking about with NASCAR. Your F1 report, your DFS report for F1 will be out on Friday.
That is correct. Rotowire.com, and we'll have the link for you here as well.